and really patting myself on the back on each step, like whether it was, 1 store to 10 stores to 20 stores to global expansion, like each moment I'm like, wow. And if we don't give ourselves that gratitude, we're going to be like, why did we do this? And those things every time got me to another place. And I was thankful for it, but I kept moving and kept working and building.
I'm Erica.
And I'm Amory. This is Leaning Into Being,
the podcast for mamas who know that real strength isn't just in doing, but in being.
Be you.
Be present.
Just be. Erica, I'm so excited to bring on my dear friend, Stacy Igel. She is the founder of the global impact brand Boy Meets Girl, and she's also the mom to a little boy.
Yes, and she is an author of Embracing the Calm in the Chaos, and I'm curious to hear all about the inspiration behind her book, what she finds in her self-care kind of arsenal and life's chaos, and how she navigates all of the overwhelming components and what she practices to stay grounded. She's got a lot that we can learn from.
Definitely. And I also am excited to talk to her about what mentorship has meant for her. She was a pivotal part of our Mama Mentors program. And I've heard from some of her mentees that they have gone on to do really amazing things.
Let's get started.
Yay. I'm so excited to have you on, Stacy. Erica, did you know that Stacy and I have known each other for 20 some years now? Yeah, you did the tote bags for my wedding, which was almost 17 years ago. So I'm going to say that it was almost 20 years ago.
There's like no social media. It was like handwritten cards and emails. And like, I feel like we like communicated, but we talked so much like through this other way, the archaic way of communicating.
Oh, people used to call on the landline. Like you would call on the landline and I'd be like, hey, Stacy, what's going on?
Right. Like we would actually call each other. But yes, I remember that. And it was so amazing.
Yes.
Well, we like to always start off by kind of grounding our episodes, being that we're all moms and it's something that really connects us, centering on your motherhood journey. Can you just share with us where you are in your journey and what's happening for you?
Yes. Well, Dylan is 10. I have one son. I always say to him, I'm like, stop growing, stop growing. And when double digits came, I was like, no. And he's always like, I'm sorry, mommy. I'm sorry, mommy. But it's been a beautiful journey. We've had COVID, which was crazy for all of us. And I had the privilege of being able to work from home and not traveling the world and not being on, the front lines. I'm not in medicine. So I was in a different place that was very different in my career, having been someone always on the go and always at trade shows and always on a plane to Europe or downtown. And so I had this very special time where he got to see what I did. And, we talked about being on Zooms and how that now they understand they like hide underneath our, desk or our chair. They pop out. They come out of closets. But he was like 4 or 5 and I was homeschooling and also working and maintaining the business and working on collaborations and making masks. I was one of the first designers to have factories to make masks in Canada to give back to Survivor Corps and Glam for Good. And so he got to see like this entrepreneur mom, which was very similar to my mom growing up. And it really shaped, like, I think a lot of our connection and who he's blossomed, not to say he's blossomed to be me, but because he's very much my husband too, but his love for creating and business and entrepreneurship and give back. And so seeing him grow in the past 5 years and actually like then go to school after homeschooling for 1.5 years, who he's become and being thoughtful to his friends and just really is special. So I treasure these moments, and also that time shifted. I never say I've had a pause. I've never had a pause. Possibly the shift is the being able to work from home and now having teams more globally in different offices versus going every day to the office. I definitely, I had a podcast called Mom's Got This with Michelle Park, which was 3 seasons pre-COVID about our working struggle and how we do it being moms. And I was always trying to figure out that sort of balance and hearing it from other mothers. And everybody had a different story in a different way. But I definitely was jealous of moms who were at pickup or drop off or at an after school special, like, event or something that I think from 0 to 4 or 5, I was there in different ways. I was there on the weekends. I was definitely there to do some drop-offs. I wasn't there for most pickups, and I feel like I've shifted my happiness of being a mom who can do more of it, and really happy that I can. So I think that's sort of my motherhood journey and finding that I can be a business owner and I can do lots of things, but I can still give myself some of the things that I really wanted to do and wasn't able to do.
We often talk on the podcast about quality over quantity, and that's exactly what it sounds like you've been doing over the last few years, balancing obviously motherhood and career and kind of giving yourself grace for some of those moments and appreciating the moments that you've had, particularly over the last 5 with your son. I'm curious on 2 things. You mentioned your mom and also, like, her entrepreneurial journey, you as an entrepreneur. I'd love to see and hear how that's reflected in your brand and also in the projects that you're currently working on.
Yeah, so my mother she was a physician assistant and she created a lumbar support, it's called the back machine. She had an office outside of the house where she shipped the goods, but before that, she was shipping the goods in the house. In the basement, you would hear her packing boxes at midnight. And then we had a library where she had an office where people would come into. So I learned this shift of like her going to office, but also having in the home and the UPS guy coming, at that time was like this tracker. They have that on Instagram. Does anybody remember that? Where
Yes.
did it? And so he'd pick up the boxes. And I was part of this, like watching, employees come in and helping like do Xeroxing and like packing boxes and hearing her do the tape and then going to trade shows with her. And so in my journey of building my brand, I've done 100 trade shows. So I learned like the act of selling, whether it was a rose, a flower, a back machine, or 20 SKUs. It's the same working with the customer. So I had a lot of that skill learning with her. And then also just a mom in business flying to Taiwan to produce product when really no other mothers at that time, at least in my cohort, was not really doing that. Maybe they were lawyers or doctors or teachers, but no one was really building a business flying to another country. And seeing her come back and be present at a swim meet or a volleyball game, but also working really hard. I remember calling her a few years ago, pre-COVID, and I said to her, "Were you ever sad when you couldn't be with me at something?" And she said, "I always took the moments I had, I was so grateful for, and that I knew that like I was present for that." And so I saw that it really infused me as a woman in business. And so much of like the things she brought back from Taiwan, which was her back machine, but also was trinkets, charm necklaces. She would bring back canteens and like all these like erasers. And so I made in first grade little like Polaroid magazines for my class and sold those products already like this budding entrepreneur because of the things she brought back and what I saw, similar to like this time with Dylan during COVID, where he saw the making, the discussion, the selling, the partnerships. And yeah, so it's shaped so much of who I am. And the fact that she had lots of clients and had to take them to Bulls games. So I got to go to it. It was awesome. Definitely made me, and she was an athlete. She was a triathlete, a marathon runner, very active. And we were swimmers and volleyball players, me and my sister. So like all of it was infused in who I was. And so much as being a boy mom, I infused that into him. So yeah, she really was very much a role model. So I'm very grateful for everything that, I learned through her.
It sounds like your mom was an absolutely incredible mentor and influence on you, and I can just see all of the essence of what she did coming into fruition, and it's such a beautiful thing to see that carried on, and it's true, I feel like entrepreneurship is a little bit contagious with your kids, like, I see my kids, they literally wanna sell everything. Literally, it's like making T-shirts, lemonade stands. I'm like, "Do we have to go out and sell things again on the weekend?" They get really excited, and it's like igniting a passion in our kids, and it's like it can be such a beautiful shared experience too.
It really is.
So, the reason that we have this podcast leading into being is because as moms and women, we're so multi-complex, and we wanted to create this space to talk about what brings you joy and your authentic self and your passions. A lot of times our self-worth and confidence comes from our title and the things that we're doing all of the time and the busyness and all of that. And we really wanted to get to the heart of women's passion and their peace and their calm. So you were really pulling together all of these things so beautiful with your book about calm in the chaos, but also you're so passionate about everything that you do. Can you talk to us a little bit about what really brings you joy and what your take on leading into being is?
It's a great question. For me, I think my passion really has been the effect of what a brand can do to bring people together. These partnerships started to happen, whether it was joining with different nonprofits, with for me was breast cancer awareness with the Young Survival Coalition for Breast Cancer since 2009 to now, and bringing awareness to the youth about a nonprofit, about young women facing cancer, and how you do that through a brand and product, and then meeting those people. And so, I have this great story where one of the girls who were on, did in Living Pink Gala, and one of the people who were on the team with me for the gala, she started the Chick Mission. And at the time had cancer and wanted to have women who were facing cancer or had cancer to get pregnant. And so was trying to find eggs that could be donated for later on if they try to get pregnant. Anyway, we met there and we loved each other. And years later, this is sort of talking about the connection of putting people together, which is what I love, right? And so a publicist came to me and said, I know you've been working with the Young Coalition for Breast Cancer for many years. I have eggs. I have a lot of eggs from a hospital. Do you know anyone who would need these eggs? And I was like, I do. I do. And I emailed her and she was like, I'll take the eggs. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it had nothing to do with like my clothing line. It was just like this connecting. Yes, through Boy Meets Girl, I had been part of the YSC and wanted to raise awareness, but it was like I met her when we were doing it was just all these. And then I was like, oh, this is like these dots that are aligning later on and bringing people together. And the Chick Mission has done such an amazing work and same with the YSC. And so those are like those moments that I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. And similar to like when COVID happened, I had like people emailing me, I have PPE to donate to hospitals. Do you know anyone? And then again, it was like a click of a button, like this factory had this and that had that. And I was like, okay, I'm sort of in this to, I guess, connect the dots and help other people, but through what I do. I love meeting the people, working with the activists, working with the nonprofits, working with the artists, working with the musicians, the celebrity, all of those, sometimes not always great, not always beautiful, but like most of the time it's really impactful and brings people together. And so that's the piece that I'm passionate about. That's what like keeps me driving and doing and collaborating and what I love about what I do. And so that it's not your typical wholesale fashion brand. We are so much more than that. We're not a nonprofit, but we've been working with nonprofits for 20 plus years, bringing all these people together to work together. And that's like, just, I would never want to stop doing that.
Hi, it's Erica and Amory from Leaning Into Being, and we know growing a tiny human is no small feat.
Which is why we've partnered with our friends at Motherhood Maternity, because every mama deserves to feel held, seen, and yes, comfy.
From belly to baby and beyond, their pieces move with you so you can focus on what matters most, being present.
You can shop their latest looks at Kohl's, Kohl's.com, Amazon, Babies R Us Canada, and motherhood.com.
Be you,
Be present.
just be.
Erica, how hard is it to create content while running a company?
Let's be real, Amory, it's really hard. You've got the ideas, but turning them into consistent strategic content, that's a whole other job.
Enter the Content Catalyst from Share Your Genius. In just one 90-minute session, they help you turn your ideas into 3 months of high-impact content, videos, articles, social posts, and more.
We use them, we love them, and this is your sign to finally get your content off the vision board. Reach out and tell them we sent you. I mean, the evolution of Boy Meets Girl and the creative projects and your creativity and the initiatives that you're working on and the collaborations are really incredible. I want to go back to like your book, Embracing the Calm and the Chaos. And it sounds like you've got this, your demeanor is so calming and so warm. How do you ground yourself and stay connected in amid life's chaos?
I mean, this book, Embracing the Calm and the Chaos, was out of writing in my journal for many, many, many years. I believe that like writing your intention and what's good, what's bad, what are you looking for, and putting that down is so helpful. And I did that. The beginning, napkins, memo pads, Google Docs, wherever I could on the subway, in the coffee shop, and I had piles of journals to put this together. But I find that that really kept me grounded. Many Evernotes, memo pads in my phone on the subway of really hard times, like bad partners, people who wanted to kick me out of my business, employees, myself being an employer, how it related to someone when I was young and they were young, like all the things of 20 years of building something. And I found that like once I put it down, I read it and I was like, okay, now how do I take action in it? And then like for me also, I think it's more in the past, like probably since 2020 is those walks, seeing green and like really giving myself, I don't know if it's meditation, but it's more being able to take that time where I would walk to the garment center from where I live. It was always fast and going or getting on a bus to get to Union City, New Jersey in the beginning. But now it's really like I have to take moments for myself. And I think we all should take moments for ourselves, even with our kids and all the responsibilities we have running businesses. And so I find that that is key to my success or like my ability to keep moving. And then also like this, like, hey, mama, and partnerships and mentors and being able to ask for things. I don't think I ever really was like, asking, but sometimes you need advice. You want to know, or you want to send a document to read from a friend in business that you think is important or can help you make that decision. Sometimes we find ourselves like our ego, we don't want to do that, but I think it's important to. And I found that later on with my journey. And then gratitude, like every step, like wow, and really patting myself on the back on each step, like whether it was one store to 10 stores to 20 stores to global expansion, like getting off a plane to launch something in Finland and like being like, holy moly, this is like in another country and commercials are here and billboards are here. And it was a 7-year licensing deal. It started as 3, went to 7, which is the end of the year this year. And it's just like, each moment I'm like, wow. And if you don't take those like moments, because as entrepreneurs we go what's the next, how are we going to get that next deal, how are we going to get this payment in, how are we going to pay for this, or what financing do we need this season, like whatever quarter we're on, we're always going. And if we don't give ourselves that gratitude, we're going to be like, why did we do this? I've been pretty good over 20 years to be like, yes, like we did this, we got this magazine coverage, we celebrated, and sometimes we were celebrating at midnight in the office, I was in the New York Times 2 times, but, like, these people wrote about me when I was working till 3 in the morning, and I'd come out on, like, a Saturday or Sunday, and I was in the Sunday Styles, and I was like, "Thank you. You saw me, even though I've been working all day." Like, it was just like and those things every time got me to another place, and I was thankful for it, but I kept moving and kept working and building. So, there's many things that make me tick and keep me calm in the midst of chaos, and I think, like, the chaos sort of brings me the calm in a weird way, like, that new partnership. Okay, we have to construct a deal, we have to do the contract, we have to you launch it, we have to expand this, we have to work with this person and bring this person together. But I love the puzzle of putting it together. So sometimes it's super chaotic, sometimes we're not aligned. But I think that kind of piece I've been so used to in building something from the ground up that it fuels me and it keeps me calm.
And I found that, and I think this just comes with age, that after a certain period of time having lived in this like roller coaster of entrepreneurship, that you get to a point where you're like, okay, cortisol levels could be really high, but oh, hey, honey, how's it going? You're able to kind of like pull yourself out and step into your real life and then be like, okay, now I'm going to step back into this. Okay, here we go. All of the like,
Yeah.
crazy energy going. And I think to be able to survive and to keep things going, you have to be able to do that and find your calm in the chaos, even if it's like for 5 minutes here,
Mhm.
a couple of hours there, to be able to let yourself rest and be able to celebrate in those moments too, just as you were saying. It's all just so important. Something that I wanted to ask about that we talked about a little bit earlier that I just thought was such a fun story, a success story that you had with one of our members, Heidi Rojas, that was in your Mama Mentors group. Can
Yeah.
you talk to us a little bit about that?
I was a mentor for a few mentees under the Hey Mama mentorship. And Heidi, at the time, she writes music for other artists and was starting to do her own classes for musicians. But she was sort of in a rut. She was a new mom or on her second child, and she was trying to figure out her voice. And it was interesting. The mentees who picked me were from all different walks of life, right? So there was like a musician, there was a nonprofit, there was a We Work for Women, there was a bag designer, there was a clothing designer. So it was really beautiful, like the cohort. But she really listened to the journey that I was on, and we set it up in quarters of how she could go from one place to another and look at the success of what she did from one quarter to the next, and also finding her voice of what was her purpose. And she now wrote a book, a children's book. She has been, I think, viral on TikTok for the music that she decided to put out herself versus writing it for someone else, which she's been a successful songwriter for other people. And she really put her voice out and decided who she was going to be as a brand, as a personal brand. And she, wrote me after the mentorship and she said, you were very instrumental in shaping that. And so it's beautiful to see the success of, I mean, we did what, a 6 month mentorship. So that's, what the book for me has really been seen as providing other people takeaways on how to see business, whether it's we're aligned in the same business or not, the different takeaways of building and the struggles and how to fail and come up back from it. I remember crying at the end of that. I wish I had a video of it with all the mentees there. It was before the book was coming out. We had done these meetings where we looked at their success from each meeting, like how we broke it up in the quarters. And like the girl who had the WeWork type of place, she had grown from like 10 people coming there to like 100 for an event, from that time we were together. Another girl had sold X amount of bags. Everybody made me feel like this book would be impactful to the world, or whoever was going to pick it up, right? With whatever, I guess, whatever stage they were, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur, starting a business, leaving an office business to start a business, like, in the midst of it, 5 years, like some of them were. So it really was like, okay, this is why I wrote this. And I just started, they were like, oh my God, Stacey. But it was so, I was like, oh my God, you guys actually have success stories like from this mentorship. So thank you for having me do it. But yeah, it's so awesome to see Heidi like just rocking and rolling and doing what she loves.
Totally. I mean, we love hearing these stories. It really does fill our cups, like especially as entrepreneurs and leaders in a supportive community. Like it just really does add that extra special. Like we're really here with a purpose. And speaking about purpose, like I would love to hear, Stacy, what advice you would give to our listeners who might be struggling with finding their purpose amidst their own creative or entrepreneurial chaos. What would you say?
If it's talking about building something, I always say that if you had 100 people and 20 or 30 people like it, then you're doing the right thing. It might not be the full 100, but if you set that idea in line and you keep at it, like, 20 years, 20 plus years in business is not that so linear. It's not linear at all. And sometimes you sit back and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm down here in this quarter. I need to, pay X, Y, and Z. Like, and then you find that, okay, what have I done also that was impactful? Not every person or brand is going to necessarily want to do give back. Why are you doing what you're doing? And do you feel right about it? And if you feel that you're doing the right thing, it might not be working with a nonprofit, it might be helping mothers, it might be helping kids, it might be building something that's new and innovative that might help people down the road, and testing that on those 100 people. Yes, there are times where it will fail and you have to re-pick up and find what is it that you want to do. And a lot of times those people come back even stronger.
Absolutely. And Boy Meets Girl is a global give back brand. And you are a part of so many different collaborations, from like huge collaborations, like your strawberry shortcake collaboration, to the incredible collaboration that I'm doing with you for our Sea Waves of Support bracelet. See, I'm wearing my bracelet with Elise Ryan. What are some of the exciting initiatives that you have coming up? What are you really passionate about right now?
Well, Strawberry Shortcake, I have a collaboration with for 2 years. So it's a co-licensing deal. And so he dropped 2 drops so far. My latest drop with them is an adaptive clothing, upcycled denim piece that can be worn by anyone. And it was made for, I guess, women and men with disabilities. So if you don't have an arm, you have one arm, but you can use your other arm, and you have a strap here to put on the jacket. It has magnetic closures in the front. And so it was the first time that Strawberry Shortcake brought this to their brand. It's the first time Boy Meets Girl brought it to our brand. It was such a beautiful collaboration of bringing it to sort of everybody, and that's showing like Boy Meets Girl does a lot of collaborations and for good, and Strawberry can too, because Strawberry is about being good and a good girl, and like, bringing people together. And so it's like a happy berry collaboration. Our recent drop is just really special, and we had I went to Chicago, bringing it full circle to my hometown, and did a segment on WGN with one of our disability models, having her walk the runway wearing the jacket. So it was just like bringing people together and feeling good about yourself, and that anyone, whatever clothing they're wearing, and that's what we want. For book stuff, I'm doing more events for the current book I'm in, which is like a collective book. So I'll be in Bedford if you have any Bedford mamas, at the Bedford Playhouse on 11/19 with a few other authors. And then as far as Boy Meets Girl, we are working on more licensing deals, which I will let you know more about that. And then for us, Amory, this is this is the Sea Waves of Support, and there's some very cool things that we're talking about right now. And just, again, it's like the connection we talked about of bringing people together to share their stories. I just want to continue to do that.
I love that. Well, Stacy, I mean, we have laughed. We have talked through so much. I can't believe we're already kind of at the end of our journey together. I've loved hearing so much about you, your motherhood journey, boy meets girl, and the incredible creative projects that you're working on. We have one final question that we like to end our podcast on, which is, what is one time or moment that you can't believe you survived or you still laugh about today?
I don't know if it's like you laugh, but I survived. I guess this would be my motherhood journey. So, pre some of my Fashion Week shows, I would have a nurse come do the shots, you know, for getting pregnant. And so I tried for a year natural, and then I did 9 IUIs and 2 IVFs. So on my IVF journey, this was my Just Dance show with Austin Mahone performing, Brittany Snow walking, Sloane Stevens, the tennis player, walking in my show. And I had just also done the shots prior to that show. I mean, which is like, I say this like as if it's normal. And I did find out actually after that show that I didn't get pregnant. Like, oh no, I'd done my IVF. I did my IVF before that show, which is also insane.
You just run in, do an IVF, go to the show.
Yeah, you can go to show, no big deal. I remember sitting at the end of that show and being like, what is this? Like all this work and then like all this struggle, and you're going, you're doing the seating chart late, and then you're trying to get pregnant, and like, what am I doing? And after that, I was like, I'm not going to do my next Fashion Week show. I'm going to pause my body. I remember I did really like relax myself, because it was just, a year and a half of like strain and sad, but I never really got sad because I was always going. And I get a call from my doctor. So we're interviewing them, and I see a call from my doctor, and I'm like, hold on 1 second. And I answer the phone, and she says, the nurse, and she says, you're pregnant. And I was like, what's happening? And then I was like, can you tell me what it is? And she's like, do you want to know? And I'm like, yes. She told me, boy. I'm like, oh, I have another egg. Can you test that one? So it was like all these things, but it was like this beautiful, like I was still in a fashion show. It wasn't my fashion show, but it was, I definitely believe taking that moment for yourself, and why it's so important for me to pause and meditate and walk and be good and kind to myself is so many of the past things that had happened. And that was really reflective of that you're not putting this pressure on yourself.
That's so true. It really is. But when you're in the mix of it, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you've got to keep the momentum going or you're going to miss out. So I'm so proud of you for having the confidence to say, you know what? Right now, it's time for me to take some pause and take some time for me. And that was 10 years ago now.
Well, Stacy, thank you so much for being with us today.
You
It
guys.
was so fun.
Mama, you are doing enough. You are enough.
So take a breath, lean in, and just be.
Be you.
Be present.
Just be.